Okay, looks like we are live again. Welcome back to my channel. Actually, I'm recording this video for the second time because the first live stream, it turned out there was a technical glitch and I was constantly speaking into my whiteboard and drawing on my iPad, but it wasn't just visible on the screen share. So uh, anyway, let's do it again. So today's topic is about how do you come up with use cases for AI machine learning for your business, right? And more specifically, I'm going to focus on the difference between AI for automation versus transformation. Okay? Automation versus transformation. And these are two very different things. Now, a lot of times when you think about, um, let's see, when you think about use cases for machine learning, um, you say, oh, AI is going to automate everything, right? So that's the big AI and automation are kind of always used together and often interchangeably, right? But I'm going to tell you that that's actually although that's very powerful, using automation, automation has always been a trend and it's pretty cool. But looking at AI today as of 2021, it's a very myopic way of thinking about machine learning use cases or AI use cases, right? And as the host of a popular podcast, pretty much the world's number one podcast that focuses on using machine learning for actual industrial use cases and not for research projects, I think I have some certain things to certain value to add to this conversation, right? Okay, so let's get right into it. What do I mean? What do you typically mean by AI for automation, right? Let's take an example of a podcast production process, right? So podcast production, okay? And by the way, bear with my handwriting. I'm so sorry, but it is what it is, right? So let's say, so the first thing is to come up with a business infrastructure, right? A business, or actually, you know what? Forget about business infrastructure. I'm not gonna introduce too many new concepts in the same video, just for the sake of it. Okay. Now, a podcast production process can be split into a number of tasks that you have to do, right? Let's say for my podcast, number one is to find a world-class guest. That's literally the first thing that we have to do. The second one is invite the guest, which means write custom pitch, send email and follow up over email, right? The third is you have to then schedule a recording. You have to, then record. Then you have to, actually, before that, you also have to, you know, figure out topics. So prepare topics and questions, right? Uh, research, and then you have to, then you record, then you edit, and finally you publish. And then, of course, you do some marketing or promotion, right? Marketing is the wrong word, but promotion. Oh, actually, like it sounds like um, oops, there you go. Yeah. Okay, so now you can see the screen, right? And the automation mindset basically means that uh, you just pick certain things. Let me use a different color. Let's say green. Wow, purple and green. That's interesting. Let's say you use AI for to replace certain things with a machine, right? So let's say you use AI to crunch a a thousand freaking uh, people online every day, and you find a guest for yourself. You shortlist the guest, right? Let's say you use AI to create a custom pitch and invite the guest. You create a custom pitch based on using machine learning. You send the email and you follow up using AI, using software, right? And let's say you even use AI to prepare topics, or even to do research, which would be pretty cool. But let's say you have AI that can do that. Like, okay, let's say you use AI to automatically edit the podcast. Like, you um, fix certain like simple errors of speech. Simple errors like too many ums and ahs, and too many you knows and filler words. Let's say you use edit uh, AI to edit the podcast for the most part, so on and so forth. So this is automation thinking. This is an automation mindset where you just finding, okay, this is something we're doing. This is expensive. Can we program a computer? Can we build a model or software to do this for us? Right? That's automation thinking. So this is, like I say again, automation thinking. And this is very powerful. Like, I'm not denying that this is not powerful. You can save a lot of money. Usually when you use automation thinking, your margins go up, your scale goes up, your speed can also go up, right? And certain when your margins grow up, I mean whether you reduce your losses, your costs, or you increase your revenue through scale, right? Whatever the case is, your margins basically go up. You're making more money by using automation, right? Automation is a good thing. You can spend valuable human hours or highly skilled human hours on more productive, more higher ROI things, right? So I love automation. Now let's get to the other thing. What is transformation, and what is a transformation mindset, right? So transformation basically means figuring out a completely new problem to solve instead of improving something else, right? So transformation, a transformation use case is equal to is means um, instead of improving, you focus on something entirely new. You create something new, right? Now, what is this? Let me take an example, right? Let me take a simple example. Uh, so if you have, let's take the example of Netflix. All right. Now, one of the most important things for Netflix to do, and this appears this applies to Amazon and stuff as well. Like they have this personalized recommendation engine, right? And what it does is it learns your preferences, learns your learns from your instead of saying learns your preferences, I would say learns from your data and predicts things you'd want, predict things you'd want, right? Get you to spend more time or money with the person, right? So this is kind of is on the edge of automation and transformation because you could have a personalized recommendation by employing a human being to give you personalized recommendation, but that just doesn't work, right? It's just something so difficult to do manually to give personalized recommendations to even a single user. Like it would be super expensive to find somebody who can actually give those recommendations. So using AI, uh, you do something that manually you wouldn't be able to do at all, right? So that's number one. You're doing something new that you couldn't do before. So it increases your revenue instead of just increasing the margins. Does that make sense? That's number one. Now let me take another example. Have you heard of Alphago? So Alphago was a an AI program that came out in 2015, 14, 15-ish, 15, 16, 15, yeah. And it played a game called Go, or Baduk, as it's said in Korean. And Go is a board game which is thousands of times more complex than chess, and it was believed that no AI program could beat a human player, a human professional player at Go for like multiple decades, right? And turns out they built an AI program which could actually learn by playing thousands of games. It could create new strategies, right? I'm going to make this more colorful once again. Let me use yellow, or let me use black. Black looks nice. Create new strategies that no human being would had ever played, like for playing Go, right? And so it beat, not only did it beat the world champion, but it beat him decisively, like beat him 4 games out of 5, right? um, and so using AI for a strategic purpose. Now down the line, I believe you could find a way to use AI for something that's not just automation, but actually something that adds strategic value to your business, right? um, so personalization was one, strategic input was another. Here's another example, right? It's something that's called what's happening? Yeah, sorry. Oops. Yeah, let me actually just move this around. Oh, I can make this smaller. You know what? Like, let me just freaking um, delete these instead. Yeah. Uh, so as I was saying, you have personalization. Use color. Personalization. You have strategic input, right? Now let me give you another example, which is called you know generative design. This came up recently, right? So what is generative design? Turns out, let's say you want to build a factory, a part for a machine, a certain part like a coil or something like that, right? Something very simple. Um, and the traditional thing is that you design it on a computer and then you either 3D print it or you figure out a way to design it such that it can be assembled in a factory, right? Or molded or something like that. You figure out some way of designing that, right? That it's simple, it's very intuitive for the human being to design and whatnot. That's one way to design. Now, the other way to design is you give the AI program a set of, uh, you know, requirements and constraints, right? Physical constraints and whatnot, and you model them into mathematical equations, and then you let the AI generate, go through millions of possible ways to f- create a design that meets and optimizes on those requirements to find a perfect design which can be 3D printed, and it would look completely different than something that an human being would design, right? It would look very alien. But it's actually a thing. There's a software called Adobe Dreamweaver. I don't know if they're actually, this is actually very, it's not very popular because the technology is still in its infancy, but it's already being used. You can use AI to uh, design new things that you otherwise wouldn't, right? Which kind of falls into the strategic input in the sense like you're using AI to solve problems that you cannot solve, right? By yourselves. And what else? Let me take you. Do I need to take one more example? How much time do we have? Okay, it's only been like 17 minutes of me talking. Let's think of one more transformative use case. Da-da-da-da. Mm-mm. Yep, one more thing. Um, so you have this, you know, changing. So this is kind of like, you know, newer ways of doing things, right? So, for example, there are now certain companies, and for example, I recently hosted the CEO of Speechly, which is a Swedish company that builds a speech recognition tool for building intelligent websites. And so what it does is, typically when you use a website, you have all these buttons, right? And you have all these different things that you can click on and whatnot, and you have these products and so on and so forth, and you're basically clicking and typing a lot of things. Now turns out, you know you can use a voice recognition technology where you can actually talk to the device, and in real time it's going to understand what you're doing and then give you feedback. So it's almost like you go to a burrito place and you say, "Oh, I want this. I want cheese. I want jalapenos. I want salsa. I want guacamole. Oh, can you add a little more guacamole there? Oh, can you add a little more sour cream? Oh, yeah, I don't like beans, so can you add tofu instead?" So on and so forth. And in real time, the person is responding, right? It's not like you're clicking stuff and then waiting for it to generate something. In the same way, a lot of websites could soon be voice controlled in real time, where in real time you say, oh, show me black sneakers from Nike. Oh, actually, show me the white ones. Oh, can you show me in size 9 first? Or can you sort them by size available? You know, can you show me both Nike and Adidas in this comparable price range? So you talk to humans, and then you can also talk to websites in a certain way, right? In the same way, make them more intelligent, make them more interactive. So that's again, and of course you could argue that all of these are kind of in the same um, kind of different ways of saying the same thing, but I don't believe that. I believe it's really, conceptually it's different from automation, where on one hand automation is just more about um, you know finding a way to replace something that's already being done by something cheaper. And automation, by the way, is also similar to outsourcing, where let's say you find somebody, I mean, this is a terrible, like, offensive example. Let's say you find somebody in Canada who takes $10 an hour to do something, and then you go and find somebody in, you know, Indonesia to do it for $2 an hour, right? That's also kind of automation or outsourcing or whatever you can call it, right? Uh, but when I talk about transformation, it's not just about doing something cheaper, but rather doing something that wasn't popular, that wasn't possible earlier, or it wasn't even feasible manually at all, right? That's what we're going talking about. So again, these are two broad categories of machine learning use cases. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Um, this was kind of a more theoretical video, but you know, sometimes you need more theory and certain more tactical stuff. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Drop a comment or send me an email. My email address is pretty easy to find. You can say aman@sanpram.com. I'm the CEO of Sanpram, by the way. Aman at Sanpram. So uh, like I said, hope you enjoyed it, and I'm gonna stop